Hello vinyl community, this is Randy, back today with another video. I'm going to show you some records that I got during the month of October in this video. Before I start that, I want to show you my shirt. This is clearly a cat down under the stars. On Monday night I went to the Basement East here in Nashville to see Melvin Sills and JGB. Melvin Sills was the keyboard player for the Jerry Garcia Band for the last 15 years or so of the Jerry Garcia Band's existence. So he was here in Nashville on Monday night playing with John Kadlacik, played lead guitar. John Kadlacik was the guitarist for the Dark Star Orchestra for many years. He's also played with Bob and Phil when they were touring as Further. So yeah, it was really good. The advertisement said it was Melvin Sills with Jennifer Hartswick, so I thought that she was going to be like a singer-songwriter, and so I planned to get there about 8:30, which would, maybe be at the end of her set and be there in time for Melvin. But I got there and they were, Melvin was already playing. It turns out that Jennifer was, I think, must have been one of the two girl singers that he had. So he had his band set up pretty much like the Jerry Garcia Band was always set up: a bass player, drummer, John Kadlacik playing the part of Jerry Garcia, and then two singers. Jennifer did some lead vocals, which didn't usually happen in Jerry Garcia Band, but they were doing just a lot of classic rock and things like that. So it was really good. Jennifer had a great voice. She didn't do that many lead vocals. John Kadlacik did most of them, and Melvin sang one song. There was one part where Jennifer played a trumpet, and well, it wasn't just one part, it was quite a bit. She's an excellent trumpet player. She jammed, she was doing jamming with him on trumpet, so I was kind of surprised at that. So she had a great voice, and she was a fantastic trumpet player, so very surprising. What was really good was they did a version of Can't Find My Way Home, and instead of singing the lead part of that, she played it on trumpet. It was really fantastic, so that was a really good show. On Sunday night, the night before that, I went to the Basement. So Basement East on Monday night, about 300 people, maybe 300 or 400 people. The Basement on Sunday night, which was maybe about 50 or 60 people. I went there to see the Peter Holsapple combo. Peter Holsapple was used to be one of the two guys, along with Chris Stamey, the main songwriters for the DBs, an alt-rock, college rock band, I guess, from the early 80s. So he's touring now. He had an album that he released in 2018 that may have been digital only or maybe just on CD. So he's touring with just him, Glenn Jones playing bass, and then Will Rigby, who was the DB's drummer, playing drums for him. So yeah, I went to see that on Sunday night. It was really good. So just the three of them. It was definitely lo-fi. I mean, the basement is really a basement of an old building. It's actually the downstairs part of where Grimey's record store used to be. Grimey, who, Grimey's record store, I believe also manages both of those clubs and maybe others in Nashville. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I saw him there that night. He was there for Peter Holsapple. He obviously enjoyed it. Everybody who was there really enjoyed it. It wasn't a big crowd, but it was a very appreciative crowd. And let's see, he played from the DBs. He played, well, several songs from DBs, but the ones I remember for sure were We Were Happy There, Neverland. Those were really good. Neverland, especially the bass player. Yeah, Glenn Jones did really good backup vocals on that high falsetto part. And they did the songs that were on here. In Too Deep, That Kind of Guy, and Amplifier. That Kind of Guy is sort of a tongue-in-cheek song about record collectors. So I think anybody watching this video would enjoy that song. Yeah, I Can't Keep From Crying was a Blues Project song. Well, I mean, I don't think they wrote it, but they did it, I guess, in the late 60s, and they did a version of that. Peter's a really good guitar player, yeah, so yeah, he sold this record. After the show, I had him sign it for me. He did a thing where it was sealed in cellophane, and so I said, are you going to sign it for me? And he said, sure. So I was trying to get it open, and he said, here, let me show you a trick I learned when I worked at the record store, something like that. And he did this thing that I saw Shamrock and Records do a long time ago, where he took it, it was still in cellophane, and he takes it against his pants and just, goes like this against it real hard. And he opened it up, and he handed it back to me, and he said, you can open that up as much as you want to. So I pulled it off, and he signed it for me. So yeah, that was good. So yeah, great show. I really enjoyed it. Oh yeah, this record is on red vinyl. It's 45 RPM. It's just an EP. So yeah, very enjoyable though. It sounds like they sounded that night. Yeah, I think it was recorded somewhere in Massachusetts. Show you some other records I got during the month of October. 40th anniversary of Gary Numan's Pleasure Principle. This is not a reissue of the Pleasure Principle. This is a 2-record set which has the demos that they, when they were, before they made the actual recording. So he had been in Two-Way Army before this, which Two-Way Army I think was basically Gary Numan, and then he just decided to drop the Two-Way Army part, and I think he got new people. It tells the whole story of this recording on the liner notes here. So like I say, this is not a remaster of the album. These are the demos. Yeah, so Two-Way Army, Gary Numan, early electronica, I guess, synthesizer music. So sort of cold sounding, sort of a voice of alienation, I guess. It was a huge hit in '79. Cars was the hit song. And yeah, I did not have this album, Pleasure Principle, so I got this reissue. Excuse me, there was also a 40th anniversary reissue of Replicas, Two-Way Army, but I already had that album. Well, that was not a reissue either. It was the same as this. It was like the demos and stuff. So, anyway, yeah. This is on orange vinyl. You can see on the label, it's Beggar's Banquet Records. You can see the 40th anniversary thing there. So, yeah, Gary Numan, I guess you would compare him to Kraftwerk, or maybe another Green World era Brian Eno. Yeah, sort of that very cold electronic sound. It's really good when you get used to it. It's not like listening to rock and roll, though. Yeah, Gary Numan. I got a couple of psychedelic records. I got these. Ordered these directly from Modern Harmonic. Incense and Peppermints, the first album by the Strawberry Alarm Clock. Late 60s psychedelic band from California. This has the hit song Incense and Peppermints, which is the 5th song on side 2. It takes a while to get to it. This is a really good record. I was a little bit, it is very psychedelic sounding. It's very professional sounding. I was a little bit surprised by the vocals. I mean, they have really good vocal harmonies, and I would compare it to well, it didn't sound like, but I mean, just the vocal harmonies are just as good as like the Mamas and the Papas or the Turtles or any of those bands. It's interesting they dedicate it here on the back to this radio programmer from Santa Barbara, their first album. So yeah, I've wanted to get this record for a while, but I've just never seen a nice looking copy in a used bin, so I figured I would get this reissue, and maybe someday if I come across a good original, I'll pick that up. But in the meantime, this sounds great. So yeah, I think it was remastered. So Sundays always does good reissues. I think it's on this Uni label. So while I was ordering that one, I went ahead and ordered the second one. Sometimes I hesitate to get 2 albums by the same band at the same time because they were sort of mailed together, but everything about 2 records, I guess, is just kind of like getting a 2-record set. So that's sort of the way I'm thinking of this. So I got their second album, too. Wake Up, It's Tomorrow. Isn't that a great cover? I love that. So the same story with this. I mean, if I ever see a really good looking copy in a used bin, I will pick that up. But in the meantime, I will listen to this. And this one is, I maybe like this one better than the first one. I mean, I've only heard them both a couple times. I like them both a lot so far, so I'm going to listen to them some more. Once again, it has a lot of the vocals, the vocal harmonies. I tell you, interesting thing on this one, the very last song in here, "Unwind with the Clock," is sort of like, where they thank you for listening, and they're sort of like telling you they'll be back for another record soon. It's kind of like the last part of Dr. Byrd's and Mr. Hyde, where they were sort of closing out the record. On this one, they end up with 3 songs called Black Butter Past, Black Butter Present, Black Butter Future, which is a cool song, but it all sort of implies that once you do a certain thing, which is mentioned in these songs, that you'll know the meaning of black butter. But I've never done those things, and I still don't know the meaning of black butter. But it is a really cool song. That Black Butter trilogy was largely written, I think, by Ed King here, who, after being in Strawberry Alarm Clock, he went on to join Lynyrd Skynyrd. He co-wrote Sweet Home Alabama. So he was the only member of Lynyrd Skynyrd who was not from the South. But I guess he joined them before they made the first album. He was there for the first one. So, yeah, the second album is on colored vinyl. Yeah, very nice looking. Yeah, so we're enjoying Strawberry Alarm Clock. What we've been hearing in the background is Free. I found this at Luna in the used record bin. Look how it's just in perfect shape. We're not actually hearing this record right now. We're hearing this CD box set that I got a few years ago. But I got this just because, sometimes it's great just to hear the greatest hits all in a row. And, of course, I like having it on vinyl. I have all the records on vinyl anyway. I didn't have the greatest hits, so this is in good shape. And, yeah, I like to listen to the greatest hits. This is a really good inner sleeve. Tells the whole history of the band. So, British band from late 60s, early 70s, just a blues rock band. So, Paul Rodgers is a great singer. Went on to be with Simon Kirke here. After Free, they went on to form Bad Company. Paul Kossoff, guitar player, fantastic guitar player, did Backstreet Crawler after this. And Andy Fraser, really good bass player. I really don't know what happened to him after this, though. So, yeah, best of Free. Very enjoyable. I just wanted to show you, I got there that same day at Luna, another record which would be very comparable, which is Very Best of the Ventures. This is a late 70s reissue. Here's the track listing. It all sounds great. Once again, I have all these songs, but, I like anything by the Ventures. I didn't have this one. It has a great album cover, and, I like to listen to his greatest hits sometimes, so that was a nice one to pick up. And then also just out of that used bin, I got this Best of Martin Denny, which is excellent. Martin Denny, associated with Exotica, I think he played piano a lot on some of his records, but during this period, I think he was doing the Exotica, so he's based down there in Hawaii. There's this band. They're all playing these Hawaiian-type instruments, I guess. I have several Martin Denny albums, but I don't have any of the ones that are on this, except for Quiet Village. So here's 12. There's one song from each of these 12 albums. So this is a good greatest hits for me to get. I didn't have any of these. And I'm a big Martin Denny fan. Switching to jazz, I got this, I picked this up at Luna. So, Pat Martino is a jazz guitarist. He has been around since the 60s. I first heard of him about a month or so ago when I was streaming some Pat Bianchi. Pat Bianchi is a jazz organist. So I've been listening to him quite a bit lately. And one of the guests on his album was Pat Martino, so I heard of him there. I saw Pat Bianchi about a couple months ago at a club here in Nashville called Rudy's Jazz Room. He was fantastic, and I really want to get a record by him, but as far as I can tell, there's no vinyl yet. So this sort of took the place of that. I heard about this record, and it's basically Pat Martino with Pat Bianchi, the organist, and a drummer. So the middle 2 songs on each side are just those 3 playing. For the first and third songs on each side, they add trumpet player and saxophone player. So those become more like hard bop. The the second song on each side is a little bit more mellow and just guitar and organ. There's no bass player. Pat Bianchi plays the bass parts on the pedals of the organ, which is not actually I guess it's not a Hammond. It's well, it says organ. It says Viscount Legend series. So is Viscount an organ brand now? I'm not sure exactly what that means, but this is a really good record. This came out in 2018. Also, I saw just while I was listening to that, while I was getting familiar with Pat Martino, Julius Jabbar did a really good video on Pat Martino. So a whole biography of him, and showed a lot of his records. I don't think he showed that one that I just showed. So yeah, that was really good. So if I can remember to, I'll put a link down there, and if you're interested, you can go see that video about Pat. I definitely want to get more Pat Martino records. So yeah, here's what this record looks like. It's just sort of a basic red label. I got there at Luna. This used record, also in really good shape. Herb Ellis at Montreux. Herb Ellis is a jazz guitarist. I think he became famous in the 50s as part of the Oscar Peterson trio. Oscar Peterson, a piano player. So with Herb Ellis on guitar and Ray Brown on bass, they were a very well-known jazz trio. So of course he became well-known as just a jazz guitarist. So here he is at Montreux. The cool thing about this record is when he's introduced by Claude Knobs in Montreux. Claude is the guy who was made famous as Funky Claude. Funky Claude was running in and out on the Deep Purple album, Smoke in the Water. So, yeah, he plays with two bands here. So on side one, he's playing with Ray Brown on bass and Jay Canna on drums. On side two, and Ross Tompkins on piano on side one. And then on side two, he's playing with, I guess, what was his trio at the time, which was Jeff Hamilton on drums and Michael Moore on bass. So this all just sounds, it's jazz guitar, just very mellow. Exactly what I was expecting. I love the album cover too. Yeah, Herb Ellis. Comes in this, I've never seen an inner sleeve like that. It's printed like that. And, yeah, there's the actual label. It's on Concord Jazz. This came out, I think it said 19... Oh, well, this is... I think this is a reissue from 1980. I'm not sure exactly which year this came out. Oh yeah, 1980, I guess is the year it came out. So I'm not sure if this is a reissue or the original issue. But it sounds really good. There that same day at Luna. Found this, Jazz Samba. Stan Getz and Charlie Byrd together. So Stan Getz, jazz saxophone player, well known for samba music. I mean, I think he's most well known for this album that he recorded with João Gilberto. In 1963, this features the music of Antonio Carlos Jobim. So the last song on side one is Desafinado. I've had this record for a while, actually. I was just showing this. So this came out in January of 63, and or maybe like March of 63, something like that. In January of 62, this record came out. So this is Stan playing the same type of music, but instead of playing it with the authentic, Brazilian people, he's playing with Charlie Byrd, who is a jazz guitarist. So, yeah, the very first song on here was Desafinado, and it starts out with, it seems like very much the same arrangement. I was like, wow, this is going to be exactly the same. But then when Charlie comes in playing guitar, it sounds really different. So, yeah, it sounds really good. I was really not familiar with Charlie Byrd. I don't have any other records by Charlie Byrd. I had heard of him before. So, yeah, sounds good on here. And, yeah, there's only that one repeat, Desafinado. Other than that, it's all different songs. And, yeah, sounds really good. So, yeah, I was glad to get this one. This is just on the standard Verve label. Yeah. So, that's it. Those were the records I got during the month of October. So, I'd be interested to know what you think about those. Have you heard any of these records? And, Yeah. So that's it. I hope everybody has a happy Halloween.